Our gospel reading for today is still connected to the event that took place last week when we celebrated the feast of the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. In our gospel for today, we can see here the two stories of and in the life of the apostles. Verse 19 says here, "Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood in the midst and said to them, 'Peace be with you.'" Now the first thing that we see in the first part of this gospel, how that on the first day of the week, that was talking last Sunday, how that the disciples were gathered together. They came in one place and they locked themselves in one place, the doors being shut, for one reason: because of fear. Fear of the Jews. Because they believed that as their master suffered death in the hands of these people, they believed that they would be the next in line who's going to suffer also death. So they assembled together, they locked themselves, they hid themselves for fear of the Jews. Now, we know that when Jesus came and stood in the midst of them, Jesus proclaimed peace. Because he knew that they were in trouble. Troubled because of that fear of the Jews. Troubled because of the death of their master. They don't know what awaits them, because they have no leader with them. They have that fear. And so Jesus came. He came and proclaimed peace to them. Peace is not the absence of problem. It's a conflict. It's there. But what the Lord Jesus Christ is trying to say to the disciples here is that peace to you, because I am the peace himself. He always says that, I am the Prince of Peace. And so that is what he's trying to communicate to the disciples. I am here with you right now, alive. So have peace. Some other translation about peace, as I was looking at the Vine-Strong Concordance Dictionary, the word peace there also speaks to us to be still. To be still. Now, are we familiar of Psalm 46? Psalm 46 verse 1 says, "God is refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble." During this time, the apostles were in trouble. They were in fear. They hide themselves. And so Jesus came to them as refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. That is verse 1. Now let us jump to verse 10 of the same chapter, 46. It says here, "Be still and know that I am God." When there is this fear in us, let us not forget God will always come to us, shows us himself as a very present help in trouble. That's what he did with the disciples. They were in trouble. They were fearful. Same also with us. God comes to us in so many ways. But sometimes when we are in fear, we are overwhelmed with worries, we could not recognize anymore the presence of God. We focus so much on the negative things. But verse 10 would remind us to be still and know. When we begin to learn to still, to be quiet, then we will begin to know that He is God, abiding with us. So they were in fear. And so Jesus came to them. He knew our feeling. He knew and He understands what is being abandoned. On the cross, He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He understands the feeling of each and every one of us. Now, when He was resurrected, He came to His disciples to reach them, to bring them this peace and the assurance that the living Christ, the resurrected Christ, would deliver them from this fear and would restore peace unto them. So this is what God would do whenever we have that situation in our lives that is not pleasing. He will come to us and He will reveal Himself to us. But one thing that we need to realize also is we need to be still so that we may know Him. We may begin to see Him revealing Himself to us. And so they received Christ. When He showed them His hand, showed Him His side, it says here in verse 20, then the disciples were glad when they saw the Lord. They were indeed glad because they begin now to see and understand what Jesus Christ says to them when Jesus was still alive, how that He would suffer death and the third day rise again. And so Jesus Christ showed Himself to them alive, showed Himself to them with that sense of restoring them what has been lost in them. Now the second part of the story is that in verse 24 we can see Thomas. In verse 24, now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said to Him, "We have seen the Lord." So He said to them, "Unless I see in His hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and put my hands into His side, I will not believe." This is Thomas. When the disciples gladly say and communicated the message of Jesus Christ to Thomas, he was absent last Sunday. I don't know where he is. He was not with the disciples. So they reported to Thomas, "We have seen the Lord. He is alive. He showed us His hands." And Thomas says, "Unless I see the print of the nails and put my hands into His side, I will not believe. So this is Thomas. You see, sometimes this is the truth, okay? Doubting Thomas is present most in the church's pews. I say, doubting Thomas is present in most church's pews. Pews means the chair where people are seated. Never in our life we can say that we have not doubted God. One way or the other, we sometimes doubt God. Okay, so Thomas, even his name called twin. In our reading today, it says Thomas called the twin. This is the Greek name. Thomas, it means twin. Though in the Bible you cannot find the name of his twin. He was called twin, but no mention about the twin. So some suggested or believed that this is something about the future also. Talks about us. Suggests that it is also about us. Talks about his twin. That we have our own story of doubt. Yes? We have our own story of doubt. Just like Thomas. When the disciples reported to him, "We have seen the Lord," he did not believe. But in some scholars says that it is not about that Thomas doubted the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. Some believe that he did not doubt Christ's resurrection, but he doubted these people who have reported to him that he is alive. Why would Thomas doubt the disciples, the other who are present, when they lock themselves in that room? If he is alive and he is resurrected and you believe that he has risen from the dead, you don't lock yourselves inside his room. You should be outside now telling this to the people: he is alive. He has risen. But see, sometimes that also is our story. We tell people about the resurrection power of Christ. We tell people about the love of God. We tell the people about many things concerning God. People knew there is God. They believe there is God. I had this sad story about a boy who is now beginning to doubt if there is really God. Because the question that he has, if there is God, why this trouble? Why would my mother would always scold me, yell at me, if there is God? That thing comes into his heart and asks, is there really God up there? Only because parents yelled at him, scolded him, that he is now beginning to doubt if there is God. We can tell people that there is God. But are we also telling them, not just by words, but by our life, that God truly rise from the grave? Are we still locked in that fear, doubt in our lives? And so we encourage people, huwag kang magduda. We have faith in God. But when we are also in that situation, we are reacting also the same way as they're reacting. Now, can we say that there is God? There is God when things are okay, but when it is not, and we are being filled with fear and doubt, now, did we say to them that there is God? So this is the things that some say about Thomas. He did not question about Jesus Christ's resurrection. Some believe that he doubted the words of the apostles also. So this is the things that Jesus did to Thomas. Now after 8 days, today is the 8th day, his disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Peace to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach your finger here, and look at my hands, and reach your hand here, and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believing." Jesus keeps on showing himself to us. As he came back a week later after Thomas was not present with his disciples when the Lord Jesus Christ first appeared. Again, every time that we come into the house of God, every day we come to church, every Sunday we come to church, Jesus keeps on coming back week after week, day after day, among his gathered disciples. Where did Jesus comes again and again and again, showing himself to us again and again and again. In his word, in the bread and wine that we break, celebrate and we partake. That is where he comes to us. He comes to us that we may believe, and that through believing we may have life. So Sunday after Sunday, Jesus reveals himself to us. Sunday is always Easter Sunday. Even if we fall on Advent and Lent, Sunday is always a celebration of what Christ has done. He died and he rose from the grave. That is what we are celebrating in the Eucharist. So week after week, he came to us and showed himself to us. And that as he came, we may believe. And that through believing, we may have that life. That is what God does to us. He reveals himself to us. So that doubt and fear may be banished, even as we put our faith in him, in that which he is doing for us. Let us have faith. Let us not doubt God. And let us live also our lives, that faith that we proclaim is not just word, but also a life that proclaim our trust, confidence is in him. Let us all stand and let us profess